traffic calming. Caddy Street, K Street, 32nd, L to H, downwards to M Street and M Loop. Last week, we advertised requests for proposals to update our whole transportation capital facility plan, which is on the website and has been advertised in local DJC, Portland and Seattle. So we have to update our 6-year TIP to be able to be eligible for funding, not only state but federal level, and make sure that it's adopted by RTC, Regional Transportation. So on the heels of updating our 6-year TIP, we'll be diving into updating our whole facility plan once the consultant is selected. So we haven't updated the facility plan yet, Dave.
On traffic calming, is that something that people have requested from the neighborhood?
This was identified by the previous consultant, which was Parsons Brinderhoff in 2005, based off of, we talked a little bit about tube counts and speeds in specific areas. We actually log that. So depending on what type of trip generation we're getting, ADTs, average daily trips, and speeds, specific projects have been identified for neighborhood projects. So this data that you see for neighborhood projects is dated by at least 5 years.
Okay, but it was identified by the consultant, not by the neighborhood.
Right, consultant, staff, and then approved by City Council in 2005.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll get the updated map that's color-coded for the specific area and type of proposed improvement. Get that sent out electronically. Any other questions or concerns on 6-year TIP, major roadway and bike ped?
I have a question. The bicycle and pedestrian projects, Shepherd Road, what is the history on that?
As far as?
Yeah, I just want to know why it's moved up so far to the top.
Which one, I'm sorry?
The Shepherd Road pedestrian and bike improvement project. Is there some sort of commitment with developers that we have, or what is the history on that?
No, we, at this time, actually by resolution in June of last year, when this was updated, Shepherd Road moved from, I believe, priority 3 up to 1, or 2, excuse me, behind the pedestrian tunnel.
Yeah, council moved it up to the
Yeah.
top.
Okay, well, I know you've forgotten why we placed it
Yeah,
on such
and
a
there's
high
no
priority.
funding in place specifically for Shepherd Road. There's no attachment to that project, no obligation at this point for that project to be number 1. As you can tell from the prioritization, obviously the funding doesn't match, since currently E Street is 5, I believe.
Other than H Street and G Street,
Right.
by far your largest, most traveled arterial that has virtually no sidewalks or
Yeah.
bike access.
So there's a couple schools of thought in ranking projects and identifying projects through the consultant staff and offering that up through ultimately Planning Commission and City Council. I just got the updated 6-year TIP from the City of Camas, and it's about as large as our whole facility plan. So there's multiple projects, and I can make that available to you electronically as well, just to reference. But there's multiple projects to be able to be eligible to land funding for. I know at least for Public Works, and our focus on specific projects is focusing on one project, max 2, and doing the best we can with the limited resources to chase those funds based on City Council's ranking and prioritization.
Right.
So that's, each jurisdiction does it a little bit different and depends on resources and types of facilities you're trying to improve, whether it's major roadway or bike ped or neighborhood. So I'm hoping.
How do the schools factor into
schools?
these improvements? I mean, are we looking at access to schools as, a priority on the project list?
We can. So there's going to be specific criteria for a consultant that is selected to be able to work with not only staff but elected officials on scoring criteria for projects.
Mhm.
If it's built in for public access to facilities, whether that's schools or, you know, other facilities within the city, then there'll be an attached weighted score for that.
Any other questions for Trev?
Okay.
Barry Smith and Associates.
Yes. A supplemental professional service agreement with Murray and Smith. We've been working with MSA for over a year on updating our water system master plan, which is a requirement by the Department of Health that regulates the water system. We're getting to a point now in the process in working with Department of Health and Ecology to negotiate water rights and have legal representation. We've been working with Dan Matlock with Pacific Groundwater Group, hydrogeologist, as well as Gordon Durr and Associates for legal representation for water rights. As you move through the supplemental, over half of the estimated cost is in legal representation and hydrogeologic analysis. In working with Ecology in preliminary meetings, they want additional information on the lower stretches of the Washougal River and potential impact from our lower well field on low flow events and high flow events, and if there is any direct correlation between our lower well field and surface water. What it amounts to is being more expensive for us to be in the water business. Attached to that as well, multiple claims that we have in place. Claims aren't quite certified rights or certificate. We need to work through those issues with Ecology to make sure our point of appropriation, specifically at the lower well field, is accurate to what we're actually producing. Currently, we're able to produce more than what we're permitted for, is what it boils down to at the lower well field. We have, don't want to get into the nitty-gritty details, but we have 5 wellheads at the lower well field, which is just north of the Washougal Crossing and Burger King. And we have one other source, and that's at 28th and I, upper Hathaway. So all of our eggs are in one basket at this point. So that resource is obviously mission critical.
Dave?
The requirement for the emergency response plan to the chlorine gas, is that gonna go away in the future based on the new technology you're getting down there?
Yeah, we're currently in the process of retrofitting, as we'd say in the water business, from gas chlorine to sodium hypochlorite, which is a liquid disinfection. We're doing that for the most part, short of buying the equipment in-house with certified staff at our upper wellfield facility, which is 28th and I. At that point, we'll be putting in for 2011 budget package for retrofitting the lower wellfield, and gas chlorine would be obsolete. But at this point, for approval for Department of Health for our master plan, we still use gas chlorine.
Okay.
So we'd have to basically submit an amendment to our master plan, letting them know our treatment has changed. We've moved from gas chlorine injection to sodium hypochlorite.
So you can see an end to that requirement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit more risk associated with gas chlorine than sodium hypochlorite for exposure,
Sure.
for release.